here at J2Easy, and we are going to be doing an introduction to the J2Easy tool suite today. So, in terms of what we're going to cover in today's session, I'm going to introduce what we are, because some of you may be completely brand new to J2Easy, and then I'm going to show you how you can access J2Easy. I'm going to do a little showcase of some of the tools that we have to support technology and the wider curriculum, because we've only got an hour and 10 minutes-ish. We're not going to be able to get into much depth in terms of the tools themselves, but I will show you some that you will have available to you to use that you can then go and explore yourselves. I'm going to showcase the Launchpad. So that is the site that all the tiles link off. And as part of that, we're going to look at adding tiles and reducing tiles for the pupils, just to streamline it for them. And then the main aspect of this presentation, we're going to look at profiling using our brand new tool, which is called J2 Journal, and the parent portal that wraps around that as well. So I'm going to show you how to create a journal, how to add content, the pupil view, and also how the parents can then view all of that through the parent portal. I'm going to show you how to use QR code logins with your students, so getting them logged in really quickly and easily. I'm going to do a little showcase of J2Write, which is one of our infant toolkits, and it's a fantastic tool to get started. I'm going to show you the resource library, and then I'm going to signpost you to some training opportunities that we have, and a Q&A session at the end. The session is being recorded, as Pam said, and will be made available. If you do have any questions, I do have the chat open on my second screen, so I will occasionally glance to that just to double check. So if you do have any questions, if I'm doing something on the screen, you want to know a little bit more about it, or you want to ask a question, pop it in the chat, and at some point I will hopefully look over and check that. But I will be doing a Q&A session at the end as well, so either or. Right, let's get started. So J2Easy is a learning platform that's designed specifically for education. So unlike other tools that are used in education, it is designed for children to use. And the beauty of that is it's really easy, it's icon-based, it's colourful, and it has accessibility settings built into the tool suite itself. So things like speech to text, text to speech, word lists, all of these are accessible for all of the students should they need them. Now, logging into J2Easy, we are available through Glow. So if you go through the Glow platform, there should now be a J2Easy button in there. And our site is available via any device, anywhere. So the students don't actually have to log into Glow to access this, and you don't either. You can go directly to j2e.com, which is here. That'd be helpful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So j2e.com, and there is a Glow button there, so you can go either or. They will take to the same space, and you can go to the Glow button on j2e.com and use your Glow credentials to log in, and that's for the students as well. They can do that as well. So that's how you would access J2Easy. Now, in terms of what tools we have available, as I said earlier, I would probably be here all day if I was to go through all of the tools that we have. But I just thought I'd highlight some of the best bits that we've got. So certainly for data, and I think this is there's a distinct move in the last couple of years away from sort of the computing focus and all of the computational thinking and programming, and there's much more of a move towards data. I think it's very important for our students to be data literate this day and age, understanding what data is, how it's presented, how we can use data, because we use it so much on a day-to-day basis. So we have a number of data tools that I thought I'd just signpost you to. So these ones are our infant tools. So these are part of JIT, which is the J2Easy Infant Toolkit. We are going to look at Write a little later. But the Infant Toolkit is actually a suite of 8 tools in the same toolkit. And these are the 3 data tools that we have available. So we have Pictogram. So you can create pictograms using templates. You can create your own. We have Chart. Does exactly what it says on the tin. It's all about creating charts. So you can add in a table. You can populate that table. You can adjust the data that's in that table. You can label it. And you can create 4 fabulous different chart types. So there are pie charts, bar charts, block charts, and line charts. And the children can switch those on and off. They can tie them together and they can see them side by side, and they can save these and print these as well. And then finally we have Branch. which is our branching database tool. And as far as we know, this is the only tool of its kind. So this will tie in certainly with the English curriculum. This is around the end of year 3, beginning of year 4, so probably in your P4-5 classes. And that's where students will add in data. Generally, it is visual data, but you can add in descriptions and labels into those as well. There's an advanced mode and a simple mode, and then they sort that data using questions. So that is a fantastic tool. And then we also have database. So this is very much the top end of your primary sector. So the children can create their own databases. You can see I've created one that is labeling and recording aliens that I've drawn in JIT Paint and saved and added into a database. And they can tally those up. They can put it in a form records. They can have it in a table, or they can create charts. As part of database as well, there are some real world example databases. So this one is the Titanic database. So that is historically correct. There are various other examples as well. There's things like countries. So they've got things like population, area, flags, and they can look at those databases, and it gives them that real life context of why we might use a database. So certainly have a look at these when you do get an opportunity. Coding, again, a major part of the technology curriculum or the computing curriculum. And we have a number of different tools. Now, it was National Coding Week last week, so we did do a big focus on coding, and we did some live lessons, which I'm going to tell you about a bit later. And we did one on every one of these tools. So if these are something that you're interested in, it would be a fantastic starting point for you. So we've got JIT Turtle. So this would work very much like a Bebot. I'm sure there's probably something more technology advanced since I've left the classroom than a Bebot, but they were our mainstay when it came to teaching. So it has the direction buttons, pen up, pen down. The children can draw a path. There's various templates that they can choose from. They can build up their algorithm here in the script, and they can manipulate these algorithms. They can move them around and they can delete them and see what the outcome does. We've got visual, which may or may not look very similar to a little orange cat that you might be currently using. So this is our block-based coding platform. Has 3 levels, increasing in complexity. They can add in their own background, they can choose their own sprites, they can add in these blocks and code. And then finally, we've got Logo. So Logo has the turtle using the Logo programming language, which was a language that was developed specifically for teaching programming to students. Again, it has levels 1, 2, and 3. So level 1 works in a very similar fashion to Turtle, so it's a nice skills progression. And then we've got level 3 here, where we've got shorthand Logo programming language. And again, I've done a live lesson on that. So there's a few starting points for you to get started with that. And we've also got lots of writing tools. Now I'm going to show you JIT Write later, but this is just an example. We've also got JIT Mix, which wraps the other 7 tools into an ebook creator. So you can use all of the JIT tools. You can add a page. You can add a page in the middle and add some text underneath. So it's fantastic for, again, that skills progression. Once the students are used to using JIT, they can then move on to JIT Mix. And then we finally got J2 Create. Now this was called J2E5 until August. Completely the same tool. So if you have used that before, don't panic. It's just the name that has changed. Now I like to describe this as a digital piece of blank paper. So it's like the best bits of Microsoft Publisher, Word and PowerPoint all in the same great tool. So you can add in pictures, labels, audio recording, there's maths tools, there's tables, there's all sorts that you can add into this. So this is a really robust tool. You could use it probably from your P3s upwards. In a very simple fashion for your P3s, then you can start doing things like hyperlinking, multi-page documents, presentations as you move further up the school. So please have a look at that when you get an opportunity. We've also got games-based learning, and we have 3 main tools within our games-based learning, which is J2 Blast. So that is the wraparound tool name. So we call it Blast. Within Blast, we've got TT Blast, which is your times tables. We've got Spell Blast, where you can practice your spellings. that has preset spelling lists, and you can also create your own spelling lists and set those for the students to complete. And then lastly, we've got Sats Blast, which I think we are going to rename to Maths Blast shortly. So there are Key Stage 1, 2 and 3 versions. So your Key Stage 1 will be up to, I think, P3 or P4, and then your Key Stage 2 will be beyond that. And that is for things like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, number bonds, fractions, percentages. I think there's a lot more in there. So these are a fantastic way to get the students engaged and to consolidate knowledge that they've learned in their lessons. So just to give you a view of Blast, this is Blast here. As I said, it's got those 3 main tools. So we'll have a quick look at Spell Blast. They all work in a very similar fashion. So you have the go live area and you have the have a practice area. So the go live is a competitive sort of against 3 other pupils around the world, whereas have a practice is very much a solo activity. It is a noisy app, so if you are loading this, you might want to turn the volume down on your laptop. You might want to invest in headphones as well, because it can get loud if you've got sort of 15 or more devices using this in class. So I'll show you the go live area. As you can see, it matches it against clearly is not a particularly popular time.
I am happy.
And it will say the word. So that was am.
On top.
So there we go. And they can use this pad up here, or they can type it on their keyboard.
Man. The man has a hat. Rocket. The rocket blasted into space.
There's no interaction with the other players.
Cod.
There's no way
Fishing
of
for cod.
Completely safe. And I didn't hear what she said then. But they do get points for each question that they spell correctly. That will track their progress very cleverly using AI. So it will become incrementally more difficult. So that as they spell these more consistently correctly, it will then become more difficult. So they can move up the levels. So at the moment, I'm level 1, and that will just keep going and going. So that, as I said, they get points. So you'll have a class leaderboard. So you can see here, we've got Lottie, who's at the top at the moment. These are all my students in the entire class. We've got the school leaderboard. And that is placed over the last 7 days. So I can see nobody else has played it. Clearly I've not done very well because I didn't finish that go live. And then place over all time. So I can see Charlie here is doing really, really well. And then the world leaderboard. So if you compare that to the school one where I've got 272, and then we've got children with 400,000 points. These children must play it all the time. But you can see there, it's a big motivator for the students to go and sort of engage with this games-based learning. And then you've got the have a practice area. So in spellings, this is preset, obviously with your times tables, they'll be able to choose their own times tables. The only difference with the Sats Blast is that is a take a test area. So they would choose a test to take. In spellings, we've got the different phases. So this is based on letters and sounds here in England. So we've got phase 2. So it starts with your CVC words, then your CVVC words, and become more and more difficult as we go through, all the way up to sort of our year groups. So we've got years 5 and 6, which would be your P6s and 7s, and then your high frequency words at the end there. So they can choose any of those spelling lists to have a go at. You can also create your own and share those with the students. So these are the shared ones here. So we've got all sorts of spelling tests that we can take. You will build up some data. So this little graph here shows us the data. So I can see Lottie, it gives me an overview. Lottie's got the most accurate with 88%, and she's answered 7 correctly. We've got printable blast certificates at the end, at the bottom there. You can choose a class. So this is great if you're a middle manager. So I can see here, let's have a look at class 1, for example. I can see it's just Lottie at the moment, but I can delve a bit deeper into Lottie's. And that shows me here the words that she's misspelt. Now, the bigger the word, the more incorrectly that was misspelt. So I can look at the different classes. So let's have a look. Somebody has deleted all of our classes in the last few weeks. So Hub Digital Leaders, so that's just Lottie, unfortunately. But there we go. So that is Blast and how you'd access the data. Again, a great place to start. Right, the launch pad. So when you log in, you will land on what we call the launch pad, sometimes called J2 Launch, sometimes just called Launch. And this is where all users will land as soon as they've logged in. So you can see anything starting with J is one of our tools. So we've got things like J2 PDF, J2 Stars, J2 Homework. We've got these tools up here. So these are our recording sort of evidence capturing tools. So these are fantastic, especially for early years colleagues. Might have any early years out there. You can open these and you can save it directly to a pupil's file. So it's a great way of evidence capturing, things that are going on in class. So we've got video, microphone, and photo. We also have J2 Journal, which is here, which we're going to look at in a second. At the top here, we have the library, which I am going to show you later. So that is, there's over 2,000 resources ready to go, ready to use, ready to share with your students. So that's a great way of starting with your students. Here, you'll find the My Files area. Now, My Files is the area that you would save your content. So much like your OneDrive or your Google Drive. So our version is called My Files. And it's always that first tab next to the big launch button. It's always that first tab. So it's the same on your interface as it is on the students. So they will soon learn to find their saved work. They go to that first tile, the My Files area. Okay. Now, as a teacher, you always have access to your pupil files, and that is through the pupil work area. So pupil files. Okay, so it looks like this. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see. So that is our pupil files. Again, that's a teacher-only tool. So the pupils won't be able to see each other's work, but all teachers will be able to see all pupils' work. Again, great for higher and middle management, being able to keep tabs on what's going on with the students. There is an upload button as well, so you can upload content that you've created elsewhere. Along the bottom, you'll find the help tile, so that has content related to all of our tools. We've also got our external website, J2Easy.com, okay, which is right at the bottom there. That one I'm going to showcase other training we have available, and that is how you would access that through that J2Easy.com website. Okay, and I will show that later. And then we've also got the admin area or the J2 dashboard, which we will focus on in a second. Right, I'm going to show you how we can add in a tile. So all of these tiles are preset, but we can create our own. So I'm going to find, I'm trying to think, I'm trying to think of a National Geographic Kids. There we go. So, for example, I'm doing an ancient Egypt project and I want my students to be able to access this content. So I can add a link onto our Launchpad so that students can access this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this at the top, this URL. So I'm going to right click and copy. And I'm going to go back to my Launchpad. And here you'll find at the top this plus button. So I'm going to add, and then I'm going to name that. So I'm going to name it National Geographic Egyptians. There we go. And you can see that's the tile that we're creating at the moment. Now I'm going to paste that URL here. So that is where that is pointing to. I can change the color of my tab if I want to. So if you wanted to color coordinate them, maybe, all your geography ones could be red, or, or your English ones could be green, whatever you want to do. And then I click plus. And that has added that as a tile onto my Launchpad. Now with anything with J2Easy, if I want my students to access that, I need to share it with them. So these two grey people, I'm just going to zoom in so you can see, these little two grey people here, that's your sharing button. So I'm going to click that, and that is going to open up this sharing box here. So I can type the name of the class, but what I would highly recommend you do is use this little arrow at the side, and that will showcase your class, teaching classes if you've set them up, users, and all classes. Okay, so now I'm going to set that for my class. You can set that for multiple classes. You can set it for a whole school. So maybe there is another website that you are using as a whole school. So you could set that and share that with everyone in school. And you can share with individual users. So there we go. So my class now have access to that particular website. So if I just show you, if I go to Lottie, she is in my class. Okay, and if I just refresh her page, there is that National Geographic button. She can click that and it takes her directly to that website. I've lost many teaching hours trying to get my year twos onto a specific website, and they would add extra dots and extra hyphens and spaces and all sorts, and you'd lose, 75% of your teaching time just trying to get them on the right website. So that's a really nice, quick, easy solution for you to get started. So there we go. So that is how you would add a tile onto your Launchpad. Now we do have a YouTube channel and there is a video on how you can do that. So if I did go a bit quickly, don't worry. We have lots and lots of reference videos on our YouTube channel. So and all of the content I'm going to show you today will have a video that you can refer back to. Now the other thing that we can do, so we've added our tile, is we can also remove some of these tiles, okay? Because this can be a little bit overwhelming. So my background is very much SEND. I taught in a special needs school for a long time. And if my students had logged in, they would have found that very overwhelming. There's a lot of colour going on. There's a lot of tiles that might not be appropriate for their level, their age, their ability. So we can streamline this for them. And that is done through Dashboard. So J2 Dashboard is our admin tool. So for my Launchpad, here is Dashboard. And we're going to have a look at the setup shortly. This is our parent portal. So that is where you would add any parents. But if we go to this button here, it's J2 Launch. Okay, this shows me all of my tiles. Now, for example, Bloggy is Pam might want to unmute and correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the case. Bloggy is not allowed through your DPIA because it is a blog.
That's right.
Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, because we have blog blogs, so we're
Thought you
not
was.
allowed bloggy and
So
webby,
this
is
may be
it?
something that you want to switch off complete access to all of your classes. So you would select the tool and then you either untick which classes you don't want to access that, or you can untick the whole school. So I've unticked J2Easy Primary. And maybe, for example, let me have a look at
I think the other one's webby, is that right?
Webby. Yes,
Mhm.
Webby. That's the one I was looking for. And J2 Webby, that again is switched off. So we're going to untick that as well. Now, it might be for some of your younger ones, for example, J2 Vote. You might find that is not appropriate for some of your younger students. So you can tick that off just for certain classes. So I could do for my P4s and down. So if I just go back to Lottie's account, you'll see that she has Bloggy, Webby, and J2 Vote. So if I refresh her page, you'll notice that those tiles have completely disappeared. She has no access to them at all. So you can streamline this completely. So if you are an early years practitioner, for example, you might just want microphone, photo, and JIT, and nothing else showing. So that is something that can be done. So that is how you would streamline the Launchpad for your students. Unfortunately, you can't do that for the teachers. You can delete them off your Launchpad if you don't want to see them. So for example, Bloggy, I can go to this little eye here and I can just delete, and that will just take that tile away. Okay. It can be reinstated if you need it, but that's how a teacher would delete them. Again, there is a video on how to do that on our YouTube channel. Right, we're going to talk about J2 Journal now, which is probably what you've been waiting for me to get started with. So this is a brand new tool for us. We introduced it in June and we actually developed it specifically for Scottish schools. So we are running a free trial for all Scottish schools until July 2025. So Aberdeenshire was the first authority that joined us a year ago, and they stipulated this as a requirement as part of your curriculum for the profiling aspect. So we designed this specifically for Aberdeenshire, and it has been incredibly popular. So it may look similar to another site of some description, and it works in a very similar fashion. So it allows teachers and pupils, I should add that in really, to collate evidence in a digital portfolio or journal. So you can add content, and we have a variety of different content types that you can add in. You can sort and filter using folders. you and your students can comment and review. The pupils and teachers can comment. Teachers have to review any submissions. It is also visible via the parent portal if that is something that you are using. I'm going to show you the parent portal a little later, just so that you know what the parent portal looks like if it's something that you wanted to consider. So the parents would be able to see journal through the parent portal. So it's a great way of showcasing for that homeschool link if it is something that you're interested in. So let's have a look at journal, shall we? So from my Launchpad, I'm going to open up J2 Journal, and I'm going to just showcase an existing journal. So we've got P1 here. So you can see here we've got various pieces of work. So if I scroll down, I've got different pieces of work. I can see in the left-hand corner which student has posted that. So Rosie has posted this, and this is her work. I can click in any of these pieces of work and that will open it up for me in view only. So these are, published best pieces of work that cannot be changed then. I can see if parents are linked to the parent portal, I can see which parent has seen that. I scroll down a little bit further. This one here is slightly different, so I can see Rosie plus one more, so you can tag multiple students in this. So if I click, I can see it's Rosie and Ezra. Now, parents and pupils will see that, but they won't see which pupils. So they will just see Rosie plus one more, and it will only be those children that are tagged in this piece of work that will see this on their feed, and parents will only see tagged work for their pupils, for their children on their journal. And this one's ever so slightly different because I've got a teacher name in the right hand corner. So that just shows me that actually it's the teacher that's posted it as opposed to the pupil. So I've posted that on Rosie's behalf. Okay, and again, I can click in this and I can see this is slightly different. This is a J2 create file, and she's circled this and saved it. Okay, and this is actually one of our ed consultant's daughters who's done this. I can add comments. I'm trying to find one with a comment. There are no comments, clearly. I thought we had comments on this one. And you can see there's quite a lot of content. And there we go. So the girls work beautifully as a team to collect the correct number of garden treasures in each colour. So the teacher has commented. The pupils can comment as well. That has to be reviewed by a teacher. I can filter. So according to users, so maybe I just want to see Ezra's content, for example. That's going to show me that there's a few pieces of work with Ezra tagged in them. I can also add folders. So this is a great way of sort of sectioning off your work. And we've got various folders that we can create there. So art, maths, phonics. And I have stipulated those folders myself as a teacher. You also have the option to create and edit those folders. So if you find it, further on into the school year, you want to create a folder, you can do that there. So that's been added in the last couple of weeks. You can filter according to date. So maybe you want to see something that specifically happened on a specific date, and that is your review button. Okay. So to create a journal, all we're going to do is we're going to click New Journal, and then you select a class out the list. So because you are a Glow managed service, all your registration classes should be set up, and that data will be pulled from Glow. Now I'm aware that sometimes with Glow and the size of the schools in Scotland, sometimes you have the registration classes, and then maybe you might have combined classes. You might have a P1-2 class. So you can set up what we call teaching classes as well. So these are these purple ones. So you can create your own groups of students to make things like this easier. Now, I'm not going to show you how to do that today. You'll be bored of me saying this. There is a video on our YouTube channel about how to set up teaching classes. So certainly for those, smaller schools, or maybe you want to set up things like a spelling group or a digital leaders group, you can do that. And Pam's put something about working on data feed within Glow if you're having problems with classes showing. So okay, that is being dealt with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my class. Now, whichever class you choose, they will be the only students that will be able to see that journal from a pupil perspective. Teachers will see all of the journals in school, so it's not an issue. You don't have to be in that class to be able to access it. Okay. but a pupil will only see those journals that they're involved in. So I've added class 1, and then I can name that. So that might be something different. So I might have my P1-2 class, for example. And then I can click create, and there we go. So that has listed my class name at the top. If this is the first time that you're creating this and it's blank, you will have that new button in the middle. But generally you'd press this button to add any content. They both lead to the same space. So I'm going to click new. Now this page was added in directly from feedback that we had from schools. So if you do start using this and you think, do you know what, it'd be really nice if we could do this or do that, please feel free to get in touch. Pam, if you could add my email into the chat, that'd be fantastic. It's nikki@j2e.com. So if you do have any feedback about this, pop it in an email to me and I will let the managing director know, because they're very keen to get any sort of improvements put in place. And this tool looks completely different to how it did it back in June. We've added so much because of what teachers have told us. So this bit is brand new. You don't have to do this, it is optional, but you can add a title for your journal. And you can add a description. So this is great for contextualizing. So maybe you've done a specific lesson that day. Maybe you've gone out on a class trip and you want to just add, you know, these are our class trip photos or whatever it is that you want to. But you don't have to. And then you can click add file. So these are different types of file that we can add. So you can add photos directly into it. So you can click photo and take a photo. You can click audio, video, and they will do the same. You can add a link to an external area or document. You've got access to your own My Files as a teacher and pupil files. So obviously the children would only have access to their My Files if they were doing it. And then you've also got the upload button. So maybe you've created something elsewhere and it's on your hard drive. You can upload from your hard drive. So I'm going to add from my pupil file. And then it's going to ask me which pupil file do I want to look into. So I'm going to look at Harry, see what Harry's got. What has it? There we go. Lives in the sea. Let's go for that. And I might want to add multiple files from different students' pieces of work. So let's add Lottie's content. So she has, there we go, Titanic postcard. I click OK. And I can keep adding more and more if I wanted to. And I'm going to click next. And now I'm going to choose which students I want to tag. So you can select all students. You can select yourself if you want to. But because that was Harry and Lottie, I'm just going to tag them. So I'm going to scroll down, find Lottie. There she is. And then I'm going to click next. And then I can develop my folder structure. So I can add a folder. I might have a maths folder, for example. I might have a science folder, and I can color coordinate these however I want to. And then lastly, I might have a world around us, for example. And I'm going to go purple with that one. And then I can click create folder. Now, if you have named them incorrectly or you want to rename them at any point, you just press that little button there. If you want to delete them, you've got a delete button. And then we're just going to tag these. I'm going to say world around us and science. So that is tag those pieces of work. And then I add my item. And there we go. So I can see here that Harry plus one more. So I've tagged both students. I will be named on the right hand side because I've done it for the students themselves. I can click on any of these pieces of work and I can see that. So that is a great piece of work. He's sorted that data really well. And I've got both pieces of work there. Obviously that one isn't finished. As a teacher, I can comment. So I could say Harry and Lottie worked really well together on this activity. There we go. And spell check that. Letty. There we go. And then I can hit enter, and that is going to post that to that journal. So just to show you from Lottie's perspective. So this is Lottie. She would then open up her journal. She can go to her P1. Now, what I would say from a personal point of view, I would try and limit the number of journals that children are involved in. Ideally, you'd want them just having one, maybe two journals maximum, because you don't really want them getting confused about which journal they're posting into. So if they just have one, they know they just click on that journal and they start posting, as opposed to, you know, potentially posting in the wrong journal. And there we go. So Lottie can post her own content by clicking new. if you can comment on this. So she could say, I really enjoyed this. And that will stay pending until the teacher approves it. And that is the same as she posts a piece of content as well. A teacher has to approve that before it is posted to the journal. And there we go. So that is the pupil perspective and what they will see. So if I refresh that page, you can see there is a review. So it will show me there, but also here I can see there's a big purple number 1. And that shows me there's one piece of content that needs to be reviewed by a teacher. So I can click that. This can be reviewed by any teacher. It doesn't have to be the class teacher. So, you know, teaching assistants can go and do this, and we can approve that. You can also approve all. So if you have, you know, quite a few comments or submissions, you do have that approve all button at the bottom that you can click. And there we go. So if I go back to my journal, I don't know why that comment's not showing. If we refresh our page, there we go. And you can see the comments. And there we go. When you're commenting, you've also got the option to record audio instead. So maybe if you're working with younger students, or you know that you've got parents that can't read particularly well, you can record audio instead. We do have the option at the bottom. So we've got these 3 dots here. Just going to X out there, 3 dots. That will allow you to edit any of the content, edit the users, folders, the date. So maybe you've posted this on Sunday night, but you know you did it on the Friday, so you can edit the date of the journal entries, and you can delete if it's, you know, something that you want to delete. So that is journal. So hopefully that has been useful. As I said, that is visible through the parent portal. So the parent portal is something that has to be set up. I'm not going to show you how to set that up. I did a webinar week before last, and that is on our YouTube channel. And that goes through the journal and how to set up and run your parent portal. So the parent portal provides parents with an over-the-shoulder view of their children's learning, and it showcases the J2 journal. So they'll see only tagged work will be visible, and they won't have any of those buttons along the left-hand side. They will just see the feed of posts. It will be view only, and they won't be able to, you can switch off commenting for parents. Homework tasks that have been set through homework, so J2 homework. So if you are using homework, the parents will have a view only view of that. They will see any stars that have been awarded through J2 Stars. So J2 Stars is a pupil reward system. Again, that can be switched off. So either if you're not using it, or if you don't want parents to be able to see any of that, if you just want it to be an internal behaviour management system, you can switch access to that off. Messages. So if you are using Parent Portal, you can send messages via J2 Message, and those are a one-way only. I think Pam can correct me if I'm wrong. It's difficult to keep track on which Scottish authorities say which. I think it's parental messaging.
Opened it up, so
We
we can
opened it
have
up.
2 yeah.
Brill. Okay, I stand corrected. So you can choose whether you want to allow parent messaging back. So there is that functionality. You can have it as a 2-way discussion. And that is using J2 Message. And parents are able to upload content using that upload button as well. So that's what the parent portal looks like for the parents. They would receive an email invite, which they then links them up, and they can link multiple children to the same account. So for example, maybe they've got 3 children in school, they would receive an email for each 3 children, but they'd only register for an account once, and it would link those 3 accounts together. So quite easy. It's all in the same space, all under the one username. They're not having to remember 3 different usernames, which is handy. But as I said, Parent Portal, there is a webinar showing the setup, and that is on our YouTube channel. Right. Generating QR code logins for our students. So we do provide login QR codes, and these allow pupils to scan a QR code, and it logs them straight in without needing a username or a password. Again, there's a video on our YouTube channel. It's only a 2-minute video. It's very quick. And this is I would highly recommend getting this put in place, certainly in your lower classes at least, because I've lost, again, many teaching hours trying to get students logged in to a site that we're using, and it's a real barrier to learning, isn't it, if they're really struggling to get logged in, especially when you're using very long email addresses and computer generated passwords can be a massive barrier. So this is why we've created these QR code logins. So I'm just going to close some of these tabs down. So from our Launchpad, we're going to go to Dashboard, so our admin tool. And we're going to go to our Classes tab, which is up here. Okay, so we've got all of our classes set up. These green ones are the preset ones from Glow. But we don't need to press any of these. We just click on, and I'm going to zoom in just so you can see at the top of our page. So we've clicked on Classes. We've got this QR code button here. So we're going to click that. And then it's going to ask us which class we want to generate a code for. Okay. Oh, and thank you. Pam's popped the link to the parent portal video. So we're going to select a class. So my class is class 1. So I'd select that out of the list. And then we've got 2 to choose from. So I won't worry about this one. We've got login codes and class code. So generally, I would say the login codes, personal preference, I would say these are definitely for your younger students. And these ones are for your older students, but you know your students best. It's whatever suits their abilities and their needs and their maturity level. So we'll start with the login codes first of all. So this will then generate a printable page of QR codes, 1 per child in class. Okay. So the child would open up their device and they'd open up the camera, and then they would scan this using the webcam. So you do need a device with a webcam for this to work, I'm afraid. So if you are using standalone devices without webcams, I'm sorry, but this won't work. But they would scan this, and that will log them straight into J2E. No need for a username, no need for a password, no faffing around. So they just open up the camera app, scan this, and it logs them in. So that is the one. So they are permanent. So these will last all year. They're printable. So I'd recommend that you would need to print them. And they're personal. So each child would have their own. So then you would stick it in their book or put it in their drawer. Or we had one school that created lanyards for the children, which I thought was a really handy idea. So they went and got their lanyards at the beginning of their technology lesson. So that is the login code. And then we've also got the class code. Now this works just ever so slightly differently. This is not personal. So the idea with this is that you pop it on your screen at the front of the classroom, and the students hold their devices up and scan this code. They then pick their name out of a list, and then it logs them in. So as I said, maturity level, you would need to be able to trust them to be able to scan it from the back of the classroom if they need to, and then to be able to identify their name out of the list and click it and trust that they pick the right name. So that is another option for you. And that logs them straight in, no need for a username or a password. So these ones do have an expiry. So it's a 4-hour expiry time. So you can have this up on the board for 4 hours. Okay. But this one is not printable. Do not print this one out because it won't work after 4 hours. So those are your 2 different options, your login codes and your class code. Hopefully one of those would suit your class. As I said, there's a video on our YouTube channel about how to create those if you forget. Right, let's look at some content creation tools for the students. I'm losing my voice already, this is not good. It's only Monday. Right, we're going to have a look at JIT Write. So this is a fantastic tool within JIT, our infant toolkit. It's a great place to start. So JIT is here, it's this lovely yellow tile. Now, as I said earlier, JIT is a toolkit of 8 different tools. It always opens up into Write. So, you know, if you are starting with your younger ones especially, they don't need to find anything else. They just click on JIT and it opens up Write. And you'll notice that all of the tools have a very similar interface. So there's that consistency. They soon learn where things are. They've got the different tabs along the top here. So these are all of our different tools that we sort of talked about earlier. We've also got Animate, Paint, and Write. The other thing to point out, might seem obvious, but it's a really nice classroom management tool, is when we click on the different tools, they all have a different page surround colour. So you'll always know there's always that one child, isn't there, that is doing something they shouldn't be doing, but they're off doing an animation instead of their word processing. So you'll know just by the colour of their page from across the classroom, you can see if little Johnny is doing his animation, that you need to go and stand behind him to make sure that he's doing his writing. So that's a really nice classroom management tool. So there we go. We'll go back to write. And they all open up just prompting the children to choose either a template or a background. So we've got our backgrounds here. So there's various backgrounds to choose from, and they're quite nice, clip art, and we've also got some seasonal ones as we get further down. So we've got things like Halloween and Christmas. We've got a blank one as well. Now, if you are working with the older students and thinking this is a little bit childish in the way it looks, you've also got the option to click on the Pictures tab. So you can add in anything that you've taken a photo of in your My Files, or, I'm going to zoom in on this little globe button here is our Google search. So this passes through a safe search filter, so you're not going to get any nasty surprises, because we've all had that. Opening up Google Images is always a bit of a risk. And then we can type anything in. So for example, maybe you're looking at the woods, or you're creating a story inspired about, maybe just some poetry writing, or there we go, maybe you have some autumn inspired writing. So you can create that. David, I've just seen your question about for the QR code to not expire. Not for the class code, unfortunately, that has got a 4-hour restriction. If you didn't want it to expire, I would recommend you use the login cards, so they keep their card, and that would then not expire. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so I'm going to use one of the clip art library images, but you do have photos there if you need them. So let's have a look. I'm going to add in a space background. So there we go. So then my writing tools are on the right, left-hand side. So I can choose color. I've got 6 fonts and 5 sizes of text, so I can make my text bigger. So I can type my title. Now, the thing that I like is that you don't have to highlight anything to change the font. So that really is quite a stumbling block for some of the younger students, especially in things like Word, where you have to highlight to change anything. You don't in Write, you can just click and it will change the size of the font. And then you've got your 6 fonts. They've only got 6 to choose from. Again, that was something that I would lose many teaching hours where the students had to find the perfect font. And when they've got thousands to choose from, that can be time consuming. So they've only got 6 fonts to choose from. And then they've got their 16 colours that they can choose as well. Okay. And you can change. Oh, there we go. I'm going to type the moon landings happened in. Now I've set myself up because I don't know the answer to that. You can also highlight the text and change it if you want to. So as the students become more adept, I might have to Google that. And you've got your word lists. Now these by default are closed. So you can see I've got a space word list. So depending on which background you've chosen will determine which word list will be available. So we can see here, I'm going to change this because I don't know the answer to that. Let's go Earth. No. The moon orbits and then I'm going to click the word Earth to add it in. Now what I can do is I can hover over any of these words, and I've got this speech bubble, so I can click on that
Earth.
and listen to the word first. Now the only difference you have with a touchscreen device, if you're using student devices such as Chromebooks or iPads, obviously they haven't got a keypad and they don't have the hover function that you do with a mouse. So for that instance, the children would click on the word once to listen to it and double click to add it into their text. But if you're using a mouse, you just click on the word and that adds that in. I'm going to highlight that and change it. So you can highlight aspects of it and change it. There we go. Okay, so that is your word lists. You can use this little arrow here on the left hand side to access the other word lists. There are varieties to choose from. And you can, as a teacher, create your own and share them. Now that's done through J2 Create. And there is a video on YouTube about how to do that. You would need to look for, it will be listed as J2E, adding a word list in J2E5, but hopefully it should flag it up with J2 Create as well. Are you able to draw on these templates? No, you're not, but if that was something that you wanted to do, what you could do is you could create something in Paint. So for example, this, and then you can save that as an image. So this little button up here, you can click that, and that then, once it's finished saving, clearly it's a little bit slow today. Dear me, this normally goes in about a second. There we go. You can then load that from your pictures. So that is how you would, you're not able to draw on the templates, but that is the workaround for that. So you can create your own backgrounds. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. We've done our text to speech in the word lists. Once they've written on their page, they've also got text to speech on the right hand side. So this will say everything that is on the page that they've written.
Space. The moon orbits the Earth.
So they can listen back to their work. So it's great for building independence, great for moving away that dependence on an adult to support them in that write, review, edit process. And can just be a really helpful tool for the majority of students, especially the younger ones. So that is text to speech, that is the top right. And then you've also got speech to text in the left. So if you get a student maybe that is a reluctant writer, for whatever reason, maybe that's learning differences, maybe that's just nerves, anxiety, lack of confidence, you can use this button instead. So they can click this and they can dictate their work instead. I'm trying to think, here we go. The moon affects the tides. Thank goodness it recognised my Birmingham accent. You have to dictate a sentence at a time. There are different languages that you can dictate in. We've got a huge long list of languages that can be used. So if you do have any new arrival children with EAL, that's an option. And then when you're ready, you click add text and that adds that into that document. And again, they can listen back.
Space. The moon orbits the Earth. The moon affects the tides.
Okay. And then at the top, they can rename that. So we can have space writing. And then they can click this save button here. Now, what I like about this, and again, it sounds really obvious, when we click the save button, they get a little saving circle. So they get some feedback that something's happening. But not only that, can you see that the save button is kind of, it's grayed out, it's almost disappeared. So they can only save one copy of that until they make further edits, because certainly in my classes, I would end up with 20 copies of the same file because it didn't look like anything was happening, and then keep clicking the save. So that won't happen here. And it's all these little things that I think really help in your teaching and be able to see that. So that is JIT Write. And also we've got the brand new publish to journal button. So if they have created something fantastic and they want to submit it straight away, they don't have to go back out and open up J2 Journal. They can choose which journal. So obviously I have access to lots of journals, and that will then pre-populate, link it, and they can add that, or you can add that as a teacher. So that is available in all the JIT tools and also J2 Create as well. So that is our JIT Write. Right. I'm going to showcase the library now. So we are almost finished. The library, I think there's well over 2,000. I think we're working more towards 2,500 resources now. So these are all teacher-made content. Majority of them are made by the J2Easy education consultants, but we are getting more and more teachers that are submitting to the library. So you can submit, you know, examples of work or lessons that you've created. What I will say is please do not submit anything with copyright. So we have had quite a few submissions of Twinkle resources. Even if you cut it off, we generally know that it's a Twinkle resource. So it has to be made as something that you've made yourself, or that is copyright free from somewhere. So we won't publish anything that isn't. But the library is fab. So let's have a look. So these are just examples of activities that are available in the library. So we've got phonics resources. This is the lovely one that I will show you. So this is like scratch art. And we've got sort of things like writing frames or activities for the students to do. So the library is here. Sometimes it gets missed, but it's right at the top. It is ranked in like order, so the most popular resources are always at the top here, but you can adjust that view. So here you've got likes, as I said, the default. You can click on updated, and that's going to show you the newest resources that we've just published as a teacher. So you can see here we've got some external teachers, so Miss Stewart, wherever you are, thank you very much for submitting that. That was a fab resource. Mary is our educational consultant. She's done a lot of content recently. And there we go. So if I go back to community, and no, actually, let's go back. I'm going to show you that scratch design. Here we go. Okay, so this one here. So Mary just made this on Friday, and it's like that scratch art that you had as a child. So this is designed for you to use the rubber, and let's change. So this is in Jit Paint, and then you can scratch out their name. So this works really nicely on a touchscreen device. It's a bit trickier when you're using a mouse. But you know, if you're using things like iPads in class, they're fab. So really good for mark making for your younger students. Just great for handwriting, that kind of thing. And they can save that, and that will save into their My Files. So that's just an example of what we have in the library. Now, students will only have access to content that is shared with them by a teacher. Okay, so to share this with my students, I find the resource that I like. Now, if I like it, and for example, maybe I know that I'm doing sort of digital art, but I'm not doing it till next half term. So what I can do is I can like that resource. So I can click that star, and that will then go into your liked resources area. So if I go to like resources, again, that shows in like order. If I go to updated, there is that resource. So I'm just going to go back, so it opens it again. So that's how you can sort of save it for a later date, so you don't lose it. To share it with your students, you have to click this share button here. Okay, so you can share with individual students. So we do have a lot of things like social, emotional, mental health activities. We've got activities that are designed specifically for children with, we call it SEND here. I know you call it ASN in Scotland. So if you've got ASN students, you might have resources you want specifically for them. So you can set for individual students. So as soon as I click on Harry and click OK, that is shared with him. Or you can share with the whole class. Okay, so you click the classes tab. So I'm going to share with my class and click OK. So now that class have access to that resource. So if I just open up Lottie's account, so Lottie's in my class 1. So for her to access that library resource, she goes up to the library, and it will always be the most recent resource is the one that's just been shared with her. So she can click on that. She has the instructions. She can click on this. So she then clicks the eraser tool. She just reduces the pen. So let's add, this is where a touch screen would be better. I was supposed to drag all the way. There we go. There we go. And she could do a heart somewhere. There we go. And then she can save that. So that will save that copy into her My File. So it's a good example of her using the tools. You've got that as evidence, and that is in the pupil files area. Okay. So if I show you, so this is Lottie, so in her My File. So remember, My Files is where the saved content goes. I don't know why it's showing like that, but there is that scratch art at the top. It should have a little thumbnail, and as is typical in a live demo, it doesn't look like it's working properly, but it is. So there is Lottie's content there. Let's try one more time. See, no. So it should have a little thumbnail like these here. So that is Lottie's content. So that is the library. As I said, there's loads and loads of resources here. We've got things like newspaper templates. all about me. So that's great for this, certainly this aspect of the term where you probably know your students now pretty well, having sort of what are we, week 5, week 6 in. But that might be an idea for next academic year. Things like internet safety rules. So I know that's definitely a common thing to be doing this term, staying safe online. You can filter according to things like subjects. Maybe you're doing some English resources. And there we go. So we've got things like book reviews, phase 3 word building activities. This is initial sounds, so great for your younger students. We've got things like internet safety word searches. So there are lots and lots of activities to have a go at. Okay. Now, the one thing I, for some reason, haven't put into my presentation is how you would access the pupils' content. So I'm just going to show you that just so you can see, and then I'm going to take any questions that you might have because we're almost finished. So your My Files, that is where you will save any of your content. So you can see this is all the content that I've created as a teacher. So there's my space writing. I can drag any files here. Okay, so if you've got, maybe you can see I've got some Excel sheets that I've used. I can drag them into this Dropbox here. So that will work for any file. Then off my Launchpad, I've got pupil files, which are here. But also within my files, I've also got a list for my pupil files here. So I can see any class. So I'm going to click class 1 to show you. And I can click in Lottie. You can see the amount of work that they've done. So Lottie's got 337. There's that scratch art. I don't know why it's not showing, but I can open that and I can see that piece of work that Lottie's just created. So great for keeping tabs on what's going on. Then lastly, before I tell you about training opportunities, sometimes that can be a little bit irritating having to go into each folder and quite time consuming to check if they've done any work. So there's a little hack, a little workaround. This box that says list files, I would just make sure that that is ticked at all times, because what that will do is it shows you all of the work coming in for that class. So we're in class 1, we're in list files. So I can see in this by column here, I can see who's submitted. So we've got Lottie, Lottie's parent has uploaded some content. And if I scroll down, I can see Harry's created some. Lottie's my demo pupil, so she does a lot. As I scroll further down, I've got things like Emma Rogers, Harry, David should be in there somewhere. So I can really keep tabs on what's coming in as my class, works through stuff and they save things. So you don't have to go into each folder to see if there's anything that's changed at all. So that is the pupil files area. Right, last little bit. We are doing a huge amount of free training, so this is freely available to any of our J2Easy schools, whether you're subscribing or trialing with us, assuming you're trialing till July. So this is all delivered through Teams. Now we have a list, and that is at j2easy.com/events. It has been updated now, so that I should delete that. And we also do live lessons. So the schedule for both, as I said, is from this button here, so j2easy.com, and then under the events tab at the top here. So this is all the content that we're doing. So next week I'm looking at J2 data. We're also doing an SEND, so ASN, so that is in October. We've got live lessons, so we're working on World Space Week, so we're doing a fact book using JIT-Mix. We've got loads. And all of these are recorded and added to our YouTube channel, but you can book on any of these. So for example, maybe you want to look at using J2 Journal, click on that and then just click the book now. So that's the upcoming events. For the recorded events, they are in our YouTube channel. So we are listed under J2Easy TV. So please feel free to give us a like and a follow. And so far you can see we've already done 3 webinars this academic year. So we've done an introductory training, we've done using coding and computational thinking, and the parent portal and J2 Journal, which I think is the one that Pam has very kindly popped into the chat for us. But here are our live lesson recordings. So these are the ones that I've done already. So there's quite a library of them ready for you to access. So these are a great place to start if you're thinking, right, I'm ready to start using, but I don't really know where to start. So we've got things like creating All About Me using JIT, Write and Paint. Now, if you open up any of these, I'm not going to play it, but in the description, I've sort of stipulated which year group it's geared towards. and what the activity is involving. So this is involving a self-portrait in JIT Paint, saving the image and then using that file in JIT Write and adding 3 all about me statements, which is kind of what I was showing a little bit earlier with the change in the template and then writing over the top of it. So that would fit nicely into that activity. So there are a variety to choose from, and as I said, I did run, I'm just going to find them, they're at the bottom here. I ran 3 last week because it was National Coding Week. So we did a JIT Turtle session for P2 and 3. We did a visual coding, P4 and 5, and a P6 and 7 coding using logo. And these are always areas of lack of confidence for teachers. So we've had some fantastic feedback, and you see we've had a lot of people, a lot of classes streaming those. There's 120 views of that, so that's classes of 30, so that's a lot of training going on there. So those are our live lessons, and again, they're free. We deliver those every other week. I'm doing a live lesson every other Tuesday from now until June, I think. So please join us for those, and I'm always looking for ideas as well. Then lastly, our social media. We're on Facebook, we're on X, formerly known as Twitter, and YouTube. So please give us a like and a subscribe. And we are starting a new Facebook group where we're going to be doing a lot more focused content for ICT leads. So please feel free to request that. It's J2Easy Teachers. So have we got any questions? Please feel free to add them into the chat and I'll do my best to answer them.